So it said I will turn these back. Let's look up Cold War. That's all I can. You know damn well I put in Cold War. Okay, let's see. Wikipedia. The Cold War 1947 to 1991, and this was immediately after World War II. Okay. All right, so this went on for a period of time. Let's read some of this. It says the Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union. Well, hold on, let's get that, because this is all right. This is all going to tie into each other, and this is all biblical prophecy. Let me see. Okay, here we go. So, let me go back real quick. It says the Cold War was a period of geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and its satellite states, the Eastern Bloc, and the United States with its allies, the Western Bloc. After World War II, a common historiography of the conflict begins with 1946, the year U.S. diplomat George F. Kennan's long telegram from Moscow cemented a U.S. foreign policy of containment of Soviet expansionism, threatening strategically vital regions and ending between the revolutions of 1989 and the 1991 collapse of the USSR. Okay, I don't really have to read too much more of that. Okay, all right, it ended in 1991 because the USSR collapsed. All right, so the Lord said He was going to turn Russia back. All right, and put hooks into their jaws. Why? Because that Cold War, it ended. All right, 1947 to 1991. All right, they took a less hostile approach. But what does it say? I will turn thee back and put hooks into their jaws. And that's why you see America and Russia. All right, Russia is rising up against America, and Russia's not going to back down. All right. It says, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army and horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Now, who is that talking about? Let's go and look at USSR real quick. Okay, so this was Soviet Union. All right. What you're going to see is basically a revitalization, man. That Cold War is heated back up. All right. And we're going to get the map to break down Russia's allies today. And you're going to see, all right, the lands that's prophesied in Ezekiel 38 is going to be on the map, man. So it's biblical prophecy. It says Persia, all right, which would be India, all right, so-called East Indians. And it would also be the Iranians, because they're Elamites. Okay? It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya, North Africa, with them. All of them with shield and helmet. All right, so they're going to join Russia. If that's not true, when I go to the map, you're not going to see that being played out on the map. Okay? It says Gomer and all his bands, and the house of Togarmah of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. So let's go back. Let's refer back to the map. Let's see, where did I have it at? I had it at Cold War. So let's go back. Turkey. Okay? That's what it is. Russia and Turkey. Because it said Togarmah and Gomer, right? It says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself. Let's go to this word prepared. This word prepared comes from the Hebrew word Qawan, which means to set up, be established, to be fixed. All right, to be directed aright. Okay? To fix, make ready, prepare, provide, to direct toward. And this is all spiritual because the leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin, okay, his name actually means, when you break his name down, it means one who goes along the path to power, all right, who goes the way to power, who goes along the path, all right. So he's being directed toward. He's been established, he's been set up, and he's going to take that path, man, okay. It says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And I'm gonna read this all the way down, but I'm gonna jump back to that verse 7 because that's heavy. All right. This leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin, prepared and prepare for thyself. Let's go to this word prepared. This word prepared comes from the Hebrew word Qawan, which means to set up, be established, to be fixed. All right, to be directed aright. Okay, to fix, make ready, prepare, provide, to direct toward. And this is all spiritual because the leader of Russia, Vladimir Putin, okay, his name actually means, when you break his name down, it means one who goes along the path to power. all right, who goes the way to power, who goes along the path, all right? So he's being directed toward. He's been established, he's been set up, and he's going to take that path, man, okay? It says, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And I'm gonna read this all the way down, but I'm gonna jump back to that verse 7 because that's heavy. All right, we got articles that are making reference of Ezekiel 38 and 7 today. So it said it's Russia, Magog, and so-called Turkey, which is Togomar and Gomer, man. All these people, they're gonna rise up in battle. Okay, let's read up. It says, after many days thou shalt be visited in the latter years. Okay, so we know that it's not during the time that Japheth was actually in that land. All right, that's why it's not even speaking about the sons of Japheth. It's speaking about the lands. Why? Because there's going to be a people that was going to fulfill prophecy of being in that land. You know, Satan against Satan. Because the Russians, they're Edomites, and the so-called Americans, they're Edomites. You know, it says, after many years thou shalt be visited. It's like after many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and it is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. But it is brought forth, man. It's gonna be it's a mushroom cloud. Easy. Okay? That's what's gonna go down out here. This is the future. The near future, not so distant future, man. And there's no escape from this. Unless you're the elect on the right hand side, or unless you're the elect on the left hand side, which the elect on the left hand side are the remnant of all the nations that are just going to go into slavery. You know, the only salvation for the other nations is, hey, Jake just be rhyming out of nowhere. The only salvation for the other nations is for plantation. Okay, that's it, man. You know, we gotta have slaves, so there's going to be a remnant of all the nations, and they're going to go into slavery, they're going to go into captivity, and they're going to bring back the ones of them that died, all right, through a process known as reincarnation. Okay, but this is what the prophet saw, man. That mushroom cloud, and the heavens shall be rolled together like a scroll. Now let's finish up Ezekiel 38. Because if you just go in spirit, other precepts don't start popping up, like Revelation 17, and it just keeps going. It says, thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land, thou and all thy bands, and many people with thee. Thus saith the Lord power. It shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. Well, hold up. And I didn't even do this earlier. Let's just go into Russia nuclear deal. Okay. Oh, well, hold up. The Iranians, that's the Persians. Then we just read that Persia is going to be in league with the land of God. Okay. Russia's nuclear deal with Iran. All right, you know what they're saying? Look, we're not going to nuke Iran. Iran not going to nuke us. Okay. Let's look at this. Woo! Iran remains in compliance with nuclear deal despite U.S. withdrawal and sanctions. Why? Because they're in league with Russia, baby. Okay? They're going to join Russia. This is Ezekiel 38, man. Hold on, let me see. This is February. This was today. All right, February 23rd. Okay? This was an hour ago when this was put up. The Iran nuclear deal explained. Let's see. It says Iran remains in compliance with the 2015 Iran nuclear deal in spite of the toughest American sanctions. They like, fuck them sanctions, man. Because they see, look, America, you go to Revelation, man, it tells you that the 10 horns shall hate the whore. All these nations they're gonna shoot at America, man. It's in the Bible. It's biblical prophecy. Okay? If it's not, then why is this happening? And where are the Christian pastors that's breaking this down? You know, the ones that's collecting tithes, all right, tithes and offerings. Iran remains in compliance with the 2015 Iran nuclear deal in spite of the toughest American sanctions introduced after Donald Trump unilaterally tore it up in May of last year. It says, despite Washington's pressure on its European allies, well, hold up. Let's get the pressure, man. We're going to hold off on Ezekiel real quick. Go to Daniel 7. Okay. Daniel 7:20. And of the 10 horns, which that represents the EU, Okay? And of the 10 horns that were in his head, in this time, it represents the EU. All right? And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth, America, spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Okay? So America's puffed up, man. You read Isaiah 47, okay? Even the Edomites from the other so-called European countries, when they come to America, they look at Americans, the Edomites of America, with shame. They don't want to be associated with them, man. All right, and that's Jeremiah the 50th chapter. All right, let me get that real quick. See, that's why I say it's just going to go into something else and something else. Let's get that. It's Jeremiah 50, and this is talking about, hey, man, this is talking about Russia too, man. Real quick, man. Let me get this real quick, man, because we was in Ezekiel 38. It's Jeremiah 50 and 9. It says, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon, Babylon's America, an assembly of great nations from the north country, Russia. All right, and it said an assembly of great nations. All right, those are all the nations that's going to join in with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, Japan even. Okay, members of the EU. And they shall set themselves in array against her. This ain't talking about ancient Babylon. Because you go to Revelation, this is speaking about the daughter of Babylon. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows, okay, and if you know anything about the ancient Babylonian Empire, it wasn't this great battle, as the apostles always bring up. It was a strategic hit. It was like, it was them Babylonians, them niggas, they was eating. They got the itis, all right? And then they was taken. It was a hit. It wasn't great nations that came up against ancient Babylon, man. All right? She that bear you shall be ashamed. And what's that speaking of? Let's go to, in Salakia, it's just going off everywhere, but we're going to get back in track. It's Revelation 17. Who bore America? Let's read about it. It says, Revelation 17, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, Salakia, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Now, the beast at that time was the Roman Empire. All right, but that beast received a deadly wound, and his deadly wound was healed. Now we're reading about that beast rising out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit represents Europe. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. All right, so this beast, all right, that came up after the Roman Empire, the ancient Roman Empire, is going to go into perdition. I wonder who it is. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Why? Because it's the same beast that was at that time period. It was Rome. It says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, which that represents NATO. Verse 10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. That's speaking about Great Britain. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. All right? So this beast that rose up out of the bottomless pit is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. It came out of the kingdom that was before it. All right, that which is Great Britain. All right, so the scripture said that mother shall be sore confounded. That mother shall be ashamed. All right, and that's speaking about Great Britain. But anyways, let's go back to Ezekiel 38. Finish that off. Where was I at? I'm all over the place, but it's whatever. It says, where is that at? Verse 11, it says, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. That's America. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates. Why? Because in Revelation, Babylon the Great is described as that great city. Okay, and that's all America is, that just one big giant city. You go from state to state, which is literally province to province, basically. No passport, all right? Not being stopped to ask for papers. Yet if you go from Germany to France, okay, which is closer than New York to LA, you need a passport. So there's just one big giant city without walls, without bars nor gates. It says to take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Why? Because America is a great melting pot, man. All nations are here. It says Sheba and Dedan, all right, which is they're both in Arabia, if I'm not mistaken, so-called Arabia. And the merchants of Tarshish, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto thee, Art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? And what is that speaking about? Okay, let's go to let's type this in. I believe I was looking at this earlier. Where is it at, man? There's a particular article, and I need to be able to find that. What is his name? There he is. Macron. Let's see. Can I find it? There we go. Yep, this is it. I believe this was it. It says, matter of fact, first off, let's get Tarshish on the map. All right, because it said Tarshish. Ancient map. Okay, Tarshish is modern day Spain. Bam, that's Tarshish right there. You got Tarshish, which is Spain, basically. You got Italy, France up there in the mix. Now I want to see if I can get that with today's names. Shit. Okay, so we see Tarshish is right there in Spain. Let's see. Let's get a map of Spain. It's gonna take me to some bullshit. I don't want to see that map. Matter of fact, let's get a map of Europe in general. Okay, so Tarshish is right there, Spain, basically. So we identified Tarshish. Let's go back and read about Tarshish again, Ezekiel 38. It says Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish. Okay, now Sheba and Dedan is in so-called Arabia, and it says, and the merchants of Tarshish. Let's go into this word merchants. The word merchants come from the Hebrew word sachar, to go around, go about, travel about, and go about in trade. All right, so that's like twofold. It's speaking about the nations that's around it and those that do trade with Tarshish right there. Now, who's around it? France, Switzerland, Belgium, Germany, Italy. Okay, these nations that primarily make up the EU. So let's see what they said. It says, with all the young lions thereof shall say unto thee, shall say unto Russia, Gog. It says, art thou come to take a spoil? Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil? So they're gonna look at Russia like, yo, you finna go hit a lick, like you know what you finna do. Have you ever seen the movie Friday? Okay, where at the end when Debo got knocked out by Craig, all right, played by Ice Cube, he got knocked out. He was laying out on the ground unconscious. Ezekiel came over and he ran his pockets, went through his pockets, took his stuff. Now he didn't do none of the heavy lifting, you know. He saw him get his ass whooped. He's like, shit, I'm finna join in too, basically. That's how these nations, they're gonna look to Russia. Like, yo, you finna go up against America? Now let's read about that sentiment playing out on the earth. If that's not biblical prophecy. It says the French president, Emmanuel Macron, has warned that Europe can no longer depend on the U.S. for its military defense and called for an urgent new European security policy in the face of rising nationalism and extremism. It says Europe can no longer rely on the United States for its security. Macron said in foreign policy speech at what is called a crisis moment for European politics and global multilateralism. It is up to us to guarantee European security. So they're taking power into their own hands. But look who they're going to look to. It says Macron vowed to put forth new proposals in the coming months for the EU to boost defense cooperations, as well as talks with Russia, all right, Gog and Magog, as well as talks with Russia on their security relationship as an issue of concern for countries on Europe's eastern edge. Now let's go back and jump up a little bit. Like I said in verse 7, Ezekiel 38:7 says, Be thou prepared and prepare thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Now, why are they looking to Russia for defense? The scripture just said it, man. And be thou a guard unto them. All these other nations that's happening with Russia. Russia is the biggest threat to America. Russia can't take out America by itself because, America has those allies. But some of those allies are going to turn on America. Revelation, the 17th chapter. Okay? So Russia is the big guard unto these other nations. China, all right, Iran, it is what it is. It's Bible prophecy. And it's adding up like 1 plus 1. Okay, it says the pro-European French centrists warned that Europe was only just beginning a long battle to address rising nationalism, and that the post-war Western-dominated, they're talking about America, Western-dominated world order was in danger. It says Macron came to power last year by beating France's far-right candidate Marine Le Pen on a manifesto that involved promising to save the EU by championing a more integrated Europe, styling himself as a leader of progressives against hardline nationalism. The first major political test for his new centrist movement, La République, on March, is next spring's European elections, where he's hoping to. But let's just get back into it, man. It says, but Macron conceded that much had changed in the past year. He warned of an awakening of nationalists and extremes in Europe, and hit out at what he called U.S. President Donald Trump's aggressive isolationism. Okay? We just read in Daniel 7:20, whose look was more stout than his fellows. America exalted itself above its own people, the other Europeans. So the EU, as you read it in Revelation 17, these shall hate the whore and make her naked and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. How they going to burn her with fire? Nuclear missiles. So they're going to turn on America. They're going to hate the whore that sit upon many waters, which is Babylon, which is America. 1 plus 1. It says Macron's comments follow Trump's repeated distancing himself from the NATO military alliance, which groups the U.S. with most of Europe and has underpinned European security since the Second World War. Says the partner with whom Europe built the new post-World War order appears to be turning its back on this shared history. He told French ambassadors gathered at the Elysee Palace, or whatever. Let's see if we can get some more. Because this isn't the exact same article that I pulled up earlier, but this actually goes in a little bit deeper. Let's read this part. It says Macron insisted that France had to push on with EU reforms because we're paying the price of several decades of a Europe that has become bland, weakened, and hasn't made enough suggestions. But hold up, you became weak in Revelation 17, man. All right, and these shall get. So let me just read it. It says, Revelation 17:12, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, representing EU, just like in Daniel the 7th chapter, which have received no kingdom as yet. Why? Because they're weak. All right, without that union, they're weak. Standing on their own, they're weak. And the kingdom shall be partly divided. And the kingdom shall be divided, partly strong and partly weak. All right, iron mixed with miry clay, NATO and the EU. It says, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, which is NATO. All right, the beast is not America. All right, it says, so yeah, they're weak. They gave their power and their strength unto the beast, which is going to say, it says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. And for the longest time, they've been in agreement with the beast. But now, they're coming out and they're saying, look, we need to leave this whole system, okay? Which is why you got Brexit going on. Which, if they did that, how could they survive? Because they've only received power as kings, man. They have no kingdom as yet, as it said in the 12th verse, man. They receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast, but they don't have no kingdom, man. Their orders come from people above them. All right, it says, these shall make war with the Lamb Well, that was the point on that, but let me just read this anyways. These shall make war with the Lamb, meaning the EU, and the Lamb shall overcome them, which is Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are Israelites, are called and chosen and faithful. Okay, now let's jump back. It says, he said that they were weak, and nigga, y'all been weak, man. All right, but it was all prophecy anyway. You couldn't help but to become a European Union. It says, he added, do China and the United States think of Europe as a power with similar independence to their own? It is not the case. That's the spirit. I just read it, man. Okay, because the EU is weak. It's the 10 horns. Okay, they receive power as kings 1 hour, but they have received no kingdom as yet. Okay, it's just run by puppets, man. Who gives orders passed down the pipeline, man. They don't really have no power, man. Great Britain hasn't been a power since World War II. Okay, after World War I, there ain't been no power, man. It says Macron said France respected the UK's Brexit vote. Slovakia. Brexit vote, and wanted to maintain a strong strategic relationship with London, but he warned he would not allow the move to be the detriment of EU unity, which was his priority. Okay, which that also plays an important part, because the scriptures tell you that the 10 horns is all of the EU. Okay, all of them. So it's going to be some unity, but it's going to be unity against America. All right, which is why they're basically coming out and saying, look, we need our own defense from America. We can't rely on America. This is the one I pulled up earlier. In the description, the title says it all. France calls on EU to not rely on U.S. defense. Reach out to Russia. Well, let's go back to Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 38 and 7. Because it's speaking about the land of Gog, which we've established that's speaking about Russia. That's that landmass. Ezekiel 38 and 7. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company, which is EU. They're going to join China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Iran, North Africa, Ethiopia, Arabia. It's going down, man. All right. Thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. What the article say? France calls on EU to not rely on U.S. defense. Reach out to Russia. And this was what? Slovakia, how many months ago? This was, 6 months ago? Something like that. Yeah, about 6 months ago. Okay? So this is all prophecy playing out. Now let's see. Verse 14 says, therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Gog, say unto Russia, thus saith Yahweh power. In that day, when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shall thou not know it? Why? Because Israel's going to be saved out of it. Let's go. Where's that at? Is that 30? Yep, Jeremiah 30 and 7. It says, alas, for that day is great, the day of the Lord. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light? All right, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, the Israelites' trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay, so Jacob is going to be saved out of it. So what the scripture says, go back in Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 38 and 14, therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto Russia, I'm going to just say it how it is. Thus saith the Lord power, in that day when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shall thou not know it? Why? Because Russia and the rest of these nations, they actually think they're going to become world dominant after America goes down. All right? But what does scripture say? I, John, saw New Jerusalem coming down from heaven. All right? Jake going to get beamed up into the chariots. The destruction going to hit. All right? We're going to look now. I don't want to look now, standing on a sea of glass as if it were mingled with fire. All right? Beholding the reward of the wicked. Watching them chariots. All right? Disintegrate niggas, missile fire. The lake of fire. People backstroking in the lake of fire. We're going to watch that. And then after the smoke clears, so to speak, we can come down with the Lord and enslave the rest of the nations, man. So Russia's going to, from the beginning, from the top of Ezekiel, the Lord has made it known he's against Russia. So just because Russia's being raised up don't mean that they're going to win. Ultimately, there's going to be no winners, all right? But the biggest loser is going to be America, man. Babylon the Great. And it's just deserved, man, all right? It's well deserved. It says, and thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts, Russia, thou and many people with thee, all the other nations that's going to join in alliance with Russia. And we're going to get that. on the map. And many people with thee, all of them riding upon horses, a great company, and a mighty army. Now let's get the map. Russia's allies. Here we go, right on the map. Hold on, let me see. Where's that one? From earlier. Select it. It was well shit, you can even see right here.